Okay, we're going to have a look at making a copy of this flower motif from a Roman mosaic, and I've split this up into two parts because for this one we need to actually look at the background first and just sort of decipher that, if you like. So let's just go through, and this is the flower that we're going to copy. It's a fairly stylized one. The actual flower itself has been set on, you see these diagonal lines of the tesseract. But the thing to look at for now is these shapes, these curved shapes in the background, and you can see how they're almost split into three parts, and that is because this background is this opus circulatum, which is these half circles, sometimes called scales. Their repeating pattern of these where the flower is actually in the center of each one. So let's take a look. This is another type. Just ignore the green lines here. You can see there's a much simpler version of the flower in the center of these. Now, if you think of these as being circles, there is the center of the circle is actually in part of the flower itself. If we go and take a look here, this is the one that we're going to copy. I've changed the contrast so you can see the difference in the colors a little bit, just to make it easier to see. But you can see here I've superimposed these lines. There's one, there's another one, and there's the actual the scale, the pattern that the flower is in. Now you can also see here I've drawn in this superimposed this black line, which is where the center of this circle is for the flower, and that's fairly important to understand where that is. Let's go on to the next one. You can see here, this is how you would draw it out. I mean, same 5 tesserae here, it's whichever you'd make it, but we go over to number 2 here on the top right, and this is the grid that it's set out on, and you can see here the grid is in the center of each of these scales. And if you look, it's quite small on here. You see A with the little red circle. That's where the center is, and that is the center of that flower. So it's understanding how this background is set, and you can see here on this example, it's got no flowering there, but you can see where the lines of the tesserae follow this fan shape, that follow the shape of the scale, and then the flower has been put into the center. And here again, on the simplified one, the simplified flower, there's your center, the red dot in all of these, and there is the circle that's the underlying geometry for the pattern. And this is just to show you, this is my copy of another type. So again, you have the same setup with the flower itself. Is obviously the background is just much more of a plain one, but you can see how this flower is created by just the diagonal lines of the tesserae, and they just change color at certain points. And this is fairly standard. You can see this black V. There's your what's stylized as a stalk, and then your grading colors up there. And so now we're back. So now we understand what the background is. And the reason we need that is just a small point. You can see the the curve of this black, and that needs to have something of a curve in it there. Okay, so that's just to understand the background, and the next one we go on to making the setting out the actual flower itself.